My child, the season you have been living in will not last forever. I need you to hear that again. Not as a phrase, not as something someone stitched onto a picture and posted online. I need you to hear it the way a doctor speaks to someone who has been holding their breath for too long. Let it out. The season you have been living in will not last forever. Something inside you already knows this. You have felt it stirring beneath the exhaustion, beneath the routine, beneath the weight of another day that looked identical to the one before it. There is a tremor in the foundation of everything you have grown used to. Not destruction, not collapse. Something closer to the earth shifting before a new road appears. You wake up in the morning and the first thing that meets you is not peace. It is the same question, the same heaviness, the same quiet arithmetic of wondering how much longer this can go on. You have stopped telling people about it because you ran out of new ways to describe the same ache. So you carry it alone. You carry it into your work. You carry it into your prayers. You carry it into the silence of 2 in the morning when the house is asleep, but your mind is wide open, circling the same territory it circled last night and the night before that. You are not lazy. You are not faithless. You are tired in a place that sleep cannot reach. And I want you to know, before this message ends, you will understand 3 things. First, what is actually changing in your life right now, even though you cannot see clear evidence of it yet. Second, why you have felt so unsettled lately. Why something inside you refuses to accept that this is all there is. And third, how God often begins a transition long before He reveals the destination. Stay with me. Every word from here matters. Let me speak to the place in you that you have been protecting. You check your phone in the morning and there is a brief pause before you open it, because part of you is hoping that something has shifted overnight. A message, a door, an answer. And when nothing has changed, you do not fall apart. You just exhale quietly and begin the routine again. Nobody sees that exhale. Nobody knows what it carries. But you do, and God does. You have become an expert at appearing fine. You show up. You smile when it is expected. You say the right things. You give encouragement to people who are struggling. And the irony is not lost on you. Because at night, when the performance ends and the house goes quiet, the questions come back. The same ones. Will this ever change? Is this just how my life is now? Did I miss something along the way? Was there a turn I was supposed to take that I did not see? And the hardest part is not the struggle itself. The hardest part is the sameness of it. If the pain were sharp and dramatic, at least it would feel like something is happening. But this slow, unchanged gray, this is what wears you down. Not the storm, the fog. You cannot fight fog. You can only walk through it and hope you are moving in the right direction. There are days when you look at other people and something tightens in your chest. Not jealousy. Not exactly. It is something quieter than that. It is the ache of watching someone else step into the thing you have been praying for. The promotion, the relationship, the breakthrough. The peace on their face that you have not been able to find on your own. And you are happy for them. You genuinely are. But in the space between their celebration and your silence, there is a question you are afraid to pray out loud. Why not me? When is it my turn? Have I been forgotten? You do not say those words to anyone. You barely say them to yourself, because you were taught that questioning God is dangerous. That doubt is the opposite of faith. So you swallow the question and keep moving. But the question does not dissolve. It sits in you like a stone in still water. And every now and then, when your guard drops, you feel the weight of it pressing against everything you thought you believed. You have tried to fix it. You have tried fasting. You have tried waking up earlier to pray. You have tried reading your Bible with a desperation that turned devotion into duty. You have tried speaking positive words over your situation, and some mornings the words felt true, and some mornings they felt like theater. And the guilt of that, the guilt of performing faith when your heart is exhausted, that is a weight nobody talks about. You have even tried letting go. People told you to surrender. People told you to trust the timing, and you wanted to. You really did. But letting go feels impossible when you do not know what you are letting go into. Surrender requires a net, and most days you cannot see one. So you hold on. Not because you are strong, because you do not know what else to do. You have prayed about this, not once, not casually. You have prayed with everything you have, and the silence that followed was not empty to you. It was heavy, because you were not asking for luxury. You were not asking for fame or ease or some extravagant miracle. You were asking for movement, just a sign that the wheel is turning. Just one crack in the wall that has stood between you and the next chapter of your life. And here is what nobody tells you. The absence of a visible answer is not the absence of God's movement. I want you to sit with that for a moment, because your mind has been building a case. Your mind has been collecting evidence that nothing is happening. Every unchanged morning, every recycled disappointment, every prayer that seemed to dissolve into the ceiling. Your mind has been filing all of it into a folder labeled proof that God has moved on. And that folder is a lie. You have been measuring God's activity by what your eyes can confirm. But the deepest work God does is the work you cannot see while it is happening. The seed does not watch itself grow. The bread does not feel itself rising. And you, in this season, are not stagnant. You are being restructured in a place that has no mirror. My beloved, listen closely. I know what you are carrying. I know the weight of unanswered waiting. I know the shape of every tear you swallowed because you did not want to burden anyone else with your uncertainty. I have been closer to you in this season than in any season before it. Not because you earned it, because this is the season where closeness matters most. You have been interpreting my silence as distance, but I have been quiet the way a surgeon is quiet, not absent, focused, working in a place too delicate for noise. And what I am doing in you right now cannot be rushed, because it is not a repair, it is a preparation. There is a difference between God fixing your life and God preparing you for your life. And that difference explains everything you have been feeling. The restlessness is not anxiety. It is your spirit recognizing that you have outgrown the space you are standing in. The frustration is not weakness. It is the friction between who you are becoming and the circumstances that still reflect who you used to be. The discomfort you have been trying to pray away is not a punishment. It is a signal. Something in you is ready for what is next, even though your mind has not caught up yet. If this feels like your season, if something in these words is pressing against a place inside you that you have kept locked, I want you to pause right now and write in the comments, "I'm ready." Not because everything is figured out, not because the path is clear, but because something in you just recognized that this season is not the end of your story. Write it now. I'm ready. Now let me show you something that most people overlook. There was a man in Scripture whose life looked like a cruel joke for years. His name was Joseph. And if you think you know his story, stay with me, because there is a layer to it that rarely gets spoken about. And it is the layer that will change how you see your own life tonight. Joseph did not end up in prison because he did something wrong. He ended up there because he did something right. He refused to compromise. He honored God with his choices. And the reward for his faithfulness was a cold cell, false accusations, and years of waiting in a place that made no sense. Think about that. He did the right thing and his life got worse. If that does not sound familiar to you, then this message is not for you. But if you have ever done everything you knew to do and still watched your situation deteriorate, then Joseph's story is not ancient history. It is your biography, written 3,000 years early. But here is the part that changes everything. And most people miss this part. While Joseph was in prison, the text says the Lord was with him. Not the Lord rescued him. Not the Lord removed the suffering. The Lord was with him in the waiting, in the confusion, in the dark, in the silence. God did not explain the plan. God did not send an angel with a timeline. God simply stayed. And in that staying, something was happening inside Joseph that could not have happened anywhere else. The boy who dreamed of sheaves bowing down was becoming the man who could manage a nation. The arrogance of youth was being replaced by the patience of preparation. The need to be seen was being exchanged for the ability to serve. Prison was not Joseph's punishment. It was his finishing school. And here is a detail that should wreck you and rebuild you at the same time. Joseph helped someone in that prison. He interpreted the cupbearer's dream. He gave that man hope. He gave that man a future. And then he made one request. Remember me when things go well for you. Tell Pharaoh about me. Get me out of here. And the cupbearer walked free and forgot. Not for a week, not for a month, 2 full years. 730 days of Joseph waiting for a phone call that never came from a man who owed him everything. Imagine that wait. Imagine helping someone at your lowest point, watching them walk into their freedom, and then being erased from their memory. Imagine counting the days. Imagine the moment Joseph stopped counting. Imagine the afternoon when he finally accepted that the man he helped was never coming back for him. And imagine what it took for Joseph to wake up the next morning and still serve faithfully in a prison that had no reason to reward his faithfulness. That is the kind of waiting that destroys most people. But it did not destroy Joseph, because the cupbearer was never the plan. The cupbearer was the rehearsal. God was not depending on a forgetful servant to free Joseph. God was using the delay to ensure that when the door finally opened, Joseph would walk through it as a man who had learned to trust God alone. Not God plus a contact. Not God plus a connection. God alone. And maybe that is where you are. Maybe someone forgot you. Maybe someone promised to open a door and walked away. Maybe the help you counted on evaporated, and the betrayal of that haunts you more than the waiting itself. But I want you to hear this clearly. The person who forgot you was never your deliverer. They were a chapter in your preparation, and the author of your story is still writing. Hear me carefully. You have been looking at your season and calling it a setback. But what if it is the exact environment required to forge the version of you that can carry what I am about to give you? What if the delay is not denial? What if the waiting is not wasting? What if every single day that felt pointless was actually adding something to your character that you will desperately need in the next chapter? Joseph could not see it in the prison. He could not see it when the cupbearer forgot him. He could not see it when another year passed and nothing changed. But the preparation was happening anyway, because God does not need your awareness to do His work. He needs your willingness to remain. And you have remained. That is not nothing. That is everything. The fact that you are still here, still listening, still breathing, still believing even at 40%, even at 20%, tells me something about you that you do not yet see in yourself. You are not someone who quits. You are someone who endures. And endurance is not a personality trait. It is a qualification. But there is something you have not seen yet. Joseph's transition did not begin the day Pharaoh called for him. It began long before that. It began in the invisible moments. It began when Joseph chose to be faithful in a place that offered no reward for faithfulness. It began when he interpreted the dreams of two forgotten prisoners, not because it would benefit him, but because he could not stop being who God made him to be. The transition began in his character before it showed up in his circumstances. And this is the truth that will reframe your entire waiting season. Change does not start with a phone call, a job offer, a relationship, or a financial breakthrough. Change starts with a shift so internal that you might not even notice it at first. It starts when you stop begging God to remove you from the season and start asking God what He is building inside you through the season. It starts when your prayers shift from rescue me to ready me. Pay attention to what has been shifting inside you lately. Have you noticed that the things that used to satisfy you do not satisfy you anymore? Have you noticed that conversations you once enjoyed now feel shallow? Have you noticed that you are less interested in fitting in and more interested in finding out what you were actually built for? That is not depression. That is alignment. Your spirit is being recalibrated for a frequency your current life cannot accommodate. The dissonance you feel is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something is right. You are being tuned for a new sound, and the old station has to fade before the new one comes in clearly. If you are still with me, and something deep inside you recognizes the truth of what you are hearing, type one word in the comments right now. Just one word. Hope. That is all. Let that word be your anchor in this moment. Hope. Now listen, because this next part is harder to accept. Some of what you have been holding on to was never supposed to come with you into the next season. Some of the plans you made, some of the expectations you carried, some of the pictures you painted of how your life was supposed to look by now, those were not blueprints. They were sketches. And God is not working from your sketch. He is working from His own design. And His design is better. Not easier. Better. I see you, and I need you to stop mourning the version of your life that did not happen. Because what did not happen was not a failure. It was a filter. It filtered out what could not survive the weight of your actual calling. Not everyone who left was a loss. Not every closed door was a rejection. Some of those endings were God saying, "That road does not lead where you think it leads, and I love you too much to let you arrive at the wrong destination on time." This is where everything begins to shift. Because when you stop clinging to the old blueprint, your hands become open. And open hands can receive what clenched fists cannot. Joseph did not walk out of prison holding a 5-year plan. He walked out holding nothing but readiness, and readiness was enough. When Pharaoh described the dream, Joseph did not scramble. He did not rehearse. He simply stepped into the moment he had been unknowingly prepared for. Every year in the pit, every year in Potiphar's house, every year in the prison, all of it was curriculum. And on the day of his promotion, he did not need a tutorial. He needed only to be who the suffering had shaped him to become. My beloved, your curriculum is almost complete. Not because I am tired of teaching you, but because you are ready for what comes after the lesson. And what comes after the lesson is not ease, it is purpose. It is assignment. It is the moment where everything you survived becomes the reason someone else survives too. If you have been waiting longer than you expected, if the timeline you set for God has expired, and you are standing in the overtime of your own patience, I want you to write this in the comments right now. Still trusting. Because trust that survives disappointment is not ordinary trust. It is the kind of trust that heaven responds to. Write it. Still trusting. There is a moment in every transition that feels like nothing is happening. It is the moment between the last day of the old season and the first day of the new one. And that moment is where you are right now. You are in the hallway. The old room is behind you. The new door is in front of you, and the hallway feels like nowhere. But the hallway is not nowhere. The hallway is where your faith is being measured, not by God, because He already knows what you are made of, but by you. The hallway is where you discover what you actually believe when every external confirmation has been removed. And what you believe in the hallway determines what you carry into the next room. If you believe in the hallway that God has abandoned you, you will walk into the next season wounded and suspicious. But if you believe in the hallway that God is present even in the silence, even in the uncertainty, even in the aching middle ground of not yet, then you will walk into the next season whole. And wholeness is what the next season requires. Do not let the hallway define you. And let me tell you what I have seen you do in this hallway that you think no one noticed. I watched you get up on days when everything in you wanted to stay down. I watched you pour into other people when your own cup was nearly dry. I watched you worship me on Sunday mornings with tears running down the inside of your chest that never reached your face. I watched you forgive someone who never apologized. I watched you hold your tongue when cruelty invited you to respond in kind. I watched you choose integrity in a room where compromise would have been easier, and nobody would have known the difference. But I would have known, and you knew that, and you chose me anyway. That is not weakness. That is not passivity. That is the most aggressive form of faith there is. Choosing God, when choosing God, costs you something and returns nothing visible. That is combat-grade trust, and heaven has been recording every single act of it. You think this season produced nothing, but this season produced you. The version of you that can be trusted with authority because you learned it through submission. The version of you that can handle abundance because you learned gratitude in scarcity. The version of you that will not be destroyed by success because you were not destroyed by suffering. That is the product of this hallway, and it is magnificent. I have not forgotten you. I have not overlooked you. I have not replaced you with someone more qualified or more deserving. The timeline you see is not the timeline I am working from, and the evidence your eyes demand is not the evidence your spirit needs. Your spirit knows. Even now, as you listen to these words, your spirit is confirming what your mind has been too afraid to accept. Something is shifting. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now, in this breath, in this very moment of listening. The shift does not always arrive as a grand event. Sometimes it arrives as a quiet knowing, a sudden peace in the middle of unchanged circumstances, a strange courage that was not there yesterday, a willingness to release what you have been gripping with white knuckles. That is transition, not fireworks, not dramatic reversals, just a soul that finally loosens its hold on the way it thought things had to be and opens itself to the way God says things will be. And God says this to you tonight. Your weeping has reached me. Not your weeping as in weakness. Your weeping as in worship. Because when you cry out to me in the darkness and still call me good, that is not sorrow. That is the deepest form of trust a human heart can offer, and I honor it. I honor you, not with applause, not with immediate resolution. I honor you with faithfulness, my faithfulness, the kind that does not depend on your feelings, your performance, or your ability to hold it together. I am faithful because that is who I am, and I am faithful to you because you are mine. The prison door is opening, not all at once, not with the fanfare you imagined, but the lock is turning. Can you hear it? That subtle click beneath the noise of your daily life? That is the mechanism of change engaging. And once it begins, it does not reverse. You may not step into the fullness of it today. You may not see the complete picture this week or this month. But the process has begun. And what God begins, He finishes. Not on your schedule, on His. And His schedule has never been late. Not once. Not for Joseph. Not for David. Not for the woman at the well, not for the man by the pool of Bethesda, who waited 38 years and then walked in a single afternoon. 38 years of waiting. One moment of walking, and no one told him the morning before that today was the day. That is how God moves. Without announcement, without preview, without giving your doubt enough time to build a counter-argument. The next truth is harder to accept. Some of you have been negotiating with God, not in prayer, in your mind. You have been telling Him what the change should look like. You have been handing Him your specifications. This is the job I need. This is the person I need. This is the amount I need. This is the timeline I need. And when God does not deliver according to your order, you interpret it as rejection. But God is not a waiter taking your order. He is a father raising a child. And a father does not give his child everything they ask for. He gives them everything they need. And what you need right now is not the thing you have been requesting. What you need right now is the faith to trust that what He gives will be better than what you demanded. That is a hard truth, I know, but it is the truth that frees you, because as long as you are gripping your own plan, you cannot receive His. As long as you are convinced that your version of the breakthrough is the only acceptable version, you will miss the door. He actually opens because it does not match the one you drew in your mind. Let go of the sketch. Trust the architect. So do not stop now. Do not collapse at the edge of your breaking through. Do not lay down your faith at the doorstep of your answered prayer. I know you are tired. I know the waiting has cost you something that you cannot articulate. But the cost is not the conclusion. The cost is the investment. And the return on what you have sown in tears will arrive in joy. If you have made it to this moment in this message, if something inside you has been awakened or confirmed or quietly reassured, then I need you to make a decision right now. Not an emotional reaction, a decision. Decide that you will not stop. Not now. Not when you are this close. Write it in the comments. I won't stop now. Let that be your declaration. Not a wish, a decision. I won't stop now. Because stopping now would be the greatest tragedy. Not because God cannot reach you if you stop. He can. He will. But because you have already endured the hardest part. The unnamed middle. The part of the journey that has no chapter title. The part that biographers skip because nothing visible happened. But everything invisible happened. You were being built. You were being refined. You were being emptied of what was too small, so you could be filled with what is more than enough. And the filling is close. I do not say that to pacify you. I say it because I see what you cannot. I see the pieces aligning that your eyes do not have access to yet. I see the conversations happening in rooms you have not been invited into yet. I see the hearts being softened, the doors being unlocked, the ground being cleared for something that will make you look back on this season and say, now I understand. You will not always understand. Not every question will be answered. Not every scar will be explained. But the ache of meaningless suffering will be replaced with the clarity of purposeful preparation. And that clarity is worth every dark night you survived. And here is something else that should change the way you see this entire season. Your waiting is not just about you. There is someone coming behind you who will walk the same road you are walking right now. They will face the same fog. They will carry the same questions. They will lie awake at the same hour wondering the same things. And they will need someone who has been through it, not someone who read about it, someone who survived it, someone who can look them in the eye and say, I know exactly how that feels, and I am living proof that it does not last forever. Your testimony is being written in real time. Every day of endurance is a sentence. Every act of faithfulness is a paragraph. Every tear that fell in private is a chapter that will one day bring someone else to their knees in gratitude, because your honesty gave them permission to keep going. You are not just surviving for yourself. You are surviving for someone who does not even know your name yet, but whose life will be changed because you refuse to quit. So here is what I want you to carry out of this message. Your season is changing. Not because you figured out the right formula, not because you earned enough faith points, not because you finally prayed the right words in the right order. Your season is changing because seasons are designed to change. Winter does not last forever. It never has. And the fact that you are still standing in the cold does not mean spring is not coming. It means spring has not arrived yet. But the soil is warming, the days are stretching longer, and somewhere beneath the frozen surface, roots are pushing toward the light. You are not stuck. You are rooted. And there is a vast, holy difference between the two. Stuck means nothing is happening. Rooted means everything is happening underground, where it has to happen first, before it can break through the surface and show itself to the world. Trust the underground season. Trust the God who works in darkness and calls it good. Trust the process that feels like punishment, but functions as preparation. Trust that the same God who began this work in you is faithful to complete it. Not halfway, not almost, completely. This is your moment. Not the moment where everything changes around you, the moment where everything changes within you, the moment where you stop agreeing with the lie that your life will always look like this. The moment where you stand in the middle of unchanged circumstances and declare with your whole chest that the God you serve is not finished. He is not finished with your story. He is not finished with your healing. He is not finished with your purpose. And He is certainly not finished with you. Now I want you to do one final thing. I want you to write the 2 words that brought you to this message tonight. The 2 words on the thumbnail that your spirit recognized before your mind could catch up. Write them now. It's time. Because it is. Not time for everything to be perfect. Time for you to believe again. Time for you to stand again. Time for you to lift your eyes from the ground and look at the horizon, and trust that what God has placed on the other side of this waiting is worth every single day you spent in the valley. It is time. And you, my beloved, are ready.